Hey, what's going on? Rain's about to come down here pretty hard. Hopefully, we don't get flooded again. And for some strange reason, I felt that I should get this one out of the way. Been wanting to do it for some time now and just keep putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. Well, tonight's the night. We're going to talk about the Ramones versus the Pistols. That's really sensationalist. It's not the Ramones versus the Pistols. It's it's a lot more innocent than that. Although I don't know, we'll hear it from two different sides. The Ramones, when the Ramones come to England, it's a really really big deal. I mean, ginormous. It happens initially during the bicentennial 1976, which is sort of poignant because in 1776 we had the Revolutionary War, and now here it is, 200 years later. America's 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 invading England, that kind of thing, and so it was a big deal. And that was really, when England is getting exposed to the New York sound up front and personal for the first time. Yeah, they might have import records. Yeah, they know about the Dolls, yada yada yada. They know about Iggy Pop. We know about the MC5 and whatnot, and all that other stuff. But this is the first time that what's been bubbling in New York for the last 2 years sort of makes its way across the pond, and it would have a monumental ripple effect because you always hear these things. You hear about, oh, the Sex Pistols' second gig. You hear about God, what's the name of the band? Joy Division's. I think it's Joy Division's first gig or something. Like, all these bands were in the audience and then went and started their own bands. This was one of those monumental gigs when the Ramones, on July 4th, 1976, the Clash, the Sex Pistols, the Damned, they're all there, and they all start their own sort of band as a result. Good evening, Mr. Rue. Rue Morg says the Ramones get my vote on this one, and I do love the Pistols. Yes, but it's not really sort of a battle. That was just sort of a sensationalist tactic to get people to click in on the thing. It's more exploring the mythology. All of these stories, just like how we focus on the Misfits and stuff, like, individually, just the Misfits, that band, and all the little sort of minutia in there. In the wider punk spectrum, there's even more of that. There's so much more. Really, a lot of it can be found in this sort of, it's kind of like a compilation if you think about it. In this book right here, this copy's from 2004, so it's really old. It's like brown. You can't tell because of the light, but it's like super brown. I read through it twice. I haven't read this in over 15 years. I really should give it another reread. I still remember, though. I still remember the stories from this book. This is the book that sort of really sent me down the punk rabbit hole and it exposed me to so many bands because of this book, written by Legs McNeil. He also did a book about the another industry called the Other Hollywood. Check that out. And he's been trying to get this Manson book made for many years, but this is the one he's known for more than anything. He was writer for Punk Magazine. His associate John Holstrom did an interview for the Lodi Project many moons ago. I don't think they talk anymore. But what we're gonna do? Oh my God! Look what just fell out of this thing. This is how old this book is. Look at this. $1 off 1 pack of any style Marlboro when I used to be a smoker. Look at that thing. Man, you do not see ads like that anymore. Wow. That was my bookmark there. But yeah, it was hard. I was having a lot of trouble finding this passage. I thought it was like a whole thing in the book, but like I said, it was just it's a paragraph. It's a simple paragraph. Let's go into it. Let's go into it. We have an article here from Far Out Magazine. We're going to start there. It's written by Tom Taylor. Okay. Let's go get it. Just pulling this up real quick. Jeff, pull it up. Jeff, pull it up. Here it is. So this is the first part, right? Here we go. When the Ramones wildly pranked Johnny Rotten by Tom Taylor. This is from October 1st, 2021, and it's from Far Out Magazine. They're a UK British magazine. In 1974, the Ramones reinvented the musical wheel with some weird new medium called punk. That's not exactly true, but, for just sort of like a casual article like this, we'll take it. As the old man once said, now punk, that's a name that no one would self apply where I come from. But then there was a lot about punk that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Although the foundations had been laid in place long before them. Okay, there we go. We got a little acknowledgement that something had come before the Ramones. It was the Ramones that crooked tower. Wait, what? It was with the Ramones, the crooked tower of punk rock began to break ground. Long before, or at least long before in punk terms, the Pistols and the British punk explosion ever came to be. And as we know, the British side of things, they hate to be reminded of this fact. They will, even in Steve Jones's book, he goes on about how that's not exactly true. There was definitely stuff happening, on a parallel plane, but it's New York, baby. Started in New York. I'm not biased either because I'm in New York, but the timeless appeal of the Ramones was best summed up by one such British punk, the poet John Cooper Clarke, who wrote in the Ramones fanzine, this is a famous one, called Sniffin' Glue, the following pithy piece of punk proclaiming prose. Whoa. Say that 1,000 times with the P's. Ready? The following pithy piece of punk proclaiming pose. The following pithy piece of punk proclaiming. I can't do it. I can't do it. It says, I love Bob Dylan, but I hold him responsible for two bad ideas. A, the extended running time of the popular song, and B, the lyric sheet, he began. Adding, in late 1975, I read an article on the Ramones, a four-man gang from Queens. Much was made of their snotty, asocial stage manner and the speed and brevity of their songs. I bought the LP. The Ramones were and are an enthusiasm of mine. They understood that it was better to have clever lyrics about moronic subjects than the other way around. So it's better to have it's better than having moronic lyrics about clever subjects. Better to have clever lyrics about moronic subjects. While asocial is not necessarily the same thing as violent, that didn't stop it from being an unfortunate side effect. Joey Ramone might have vouched, for me, punk is about real feelings. It's not about, yeah, I'm a punk and I'm angry. That's a lot of crap. It's about loving the things that really matter. Passion, heart, soul. But that didn't stop the Pistols from wanting to scrap when the New Yorkers first arrived on UK soil. As the Afghan Hound frontman recalled on Conan, they refer to Joey Ramone as the Afghan Hound frontman. Recalled on Conan, this is a clip. There's a clip here. When we first met this, I can't do it. I'm not going to try and do a Joey Ramone. When we first met the Sex Pistols, it was our first tour over there in the UK. And yeah, they wanted to come on like they wanted to start something. Apparently, it would seem that the Ramones were able to diffuse the bratish behavior of the Pistols. And eventually, they were seemingly able to shake hands. I mean, how do you come backstage and want to fight someone? Like you just knock on the door. Oi, we want to fight you. Come outside so we can fight. Like, is that how it works? I don't think that's how it works, but who am I? What do I know? However, the Ramones were not going to forget the incident in a hurry, and they had a few tricks up their leather sleeves when they next returned in 1977. As Joey Ramone explained with a beaming smile, we came back in 77 and we did a tour, and Johnny Rotten wanted to come backstage. And a little prank that we pulled on Johnny is that we all kind of pissed in the beer. And then Johnny Ramone gave wait, what is this? This doesn't. And then Johnny Ramone gave Johnny Ramone as our little way of saying hello. He meant to say Johnny Ramone gave Johnny Rotten as our little way of saying hello, our little greeting, he said, adding, although British beer is pretty bad, he probably didn't know the difference. British beer isn't bad, you bloody heathens, but it isn't exactly a glowing indictment that Johnny Rotten didn't seem to notice after all. No rye. I'd love to hear Johnny Rotten, try and rational. Oh, it was just a snarky little thing. They were just trying to get the better of me. It's all right. They're the Ramones. We're much better than them anyway, So it isn't exactly a glowing indictment that Johnny Rotten didn't seem to notice after all. No riot ensued or uproar broke out. Just a few backstage winks and no doubt a bemused Rotten in the middle of it all. Pranks were part of the fabric of punk as youths seized a clutch of culture for themselves, and in the process, the world was changed. As Patti Smith said, I'm not a fan of Patti Smith. Actually, Legs McNeil and what's her name? Gillian McCain. Legs McNeil and Gillian McCain really, truly just paint Patti Smith in the worst light, just like the worst person ever. Kind of a bummer to think that she was the last person that played CBGBs, to be honest. JRD for the win says, British beer is like having SEX in a boat. It's fucking close to water. Oh, shots fired and burn. As Patti Smith said, this carefree attitude created the space needed for freedom to create, freedom to be successful, and freedom not to be successful, freedom to be who you are. And then they post the clip here. Shall we take a look? We're going to take a look, and then we're going to go to the other thing that I have. The other thing that I have. I hope this doesn't get me flagged. I am willing to take a risk because I very much want to hear. I've never heard the story from Joey Ramone. It looks like a long clip, though. I don't know. Let's see. This is from 1999. Let's take a look. Let us take a look at the tape. Audio has been shared. All right, hopefully this won't get me into trouble. And if it does, then it does. That's just the way it is. Sorry, terrible. Joey, here. Ready? Let's go.
Not fair.
Yeah, got a good beat. They do it well.
High praise, indeed.
Look at those leather pants.
There's a lot to talk about here, and first thing is, I don't think people today appreciate how much you guys changed the whole scene of music. He was on there to promote something. You guys are doing it in '74, which is 2 years before the British punk movement. Isn't that right?
Right.
And
actually, even more.
Even more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Man,
so
I would wish I could talk to Joey.
4. You guys are doing this in the 50s.
You know who appreciates us? Green Day and the Offspring.
Right. There's a lot of bands now that have said
cool
this
guy,
was the
honestly.
band. When you guys first came along, you didn't sound like anybody else. You didn't look anything like anybody else.
Nope.
How did the average people react to you back then?
Like we were aliens.
Really?
Still kind of looks like an alien.
I remember this agency Premiere. They booked us, and they wanted us to get wider exposure. Mm-hmm. So they put us on tour with, not on tour, but we did a show with Toto in the middle of
Toto.
St.
Oh my
Charles,
God.
Louisiana. It's supposed to be the most dangerous place on earth. And we played some basketball stadium. It was us and Toto, and the kids we drove about 15 hours out of the way to get there because we
in
just
a
had done, like, 9
15-person
shows,
van.
Prior,
no less.
We get there, and we're tired. We go on, we play the show, and everyone's just staring at us like we're from Mars or something like that.
Right. There's a story I read somewhere where you guys are coming out. You're coming out of a van,
right?
And some woman saw you, and she went up to your manager. Do you remember this story?
Yeah, she went up to our road manager, Monty, and she said,
"We had Monty on the show.
How nice of you to take care of these people."
Should ask Monty about that when we had him on.
Now, the Sex Pistols, of course, they come along in '76, I believe.
Right.
They come out, and the Sex Pistols.
No, they came out in like '77.
Oh, okay.
We had
listen to that
we
rivalry.
had 3 albums out before they had their first.
Right, you guys came first. We
That's
established
right.
that. We're not going to fight about that.
Okay.
But the Sex Pistols just said they wanted to fight you guys. Isn't that right? Because there was a perceived rivalry, but the Sex Pistols actually wanted to fight you, and you didn't.
Well, when we first met them, it was our first tour over there, and
76.
yeah, they wanted to come on like they were gonna they wanted to, that's how they were. They wanted like they wanted to start something. So the first time in '77 we came back, we did a tour, and Johnny Rotten wanted to come backstage. So for a little prank that we pulled on Johnny was that we all kind of pissed in the beer. And Johnny,
What do you mean you kind of pissed in the beer?
We did.
Okay.
We urinated.
There you go. Yeah.
Pissed in the beer.
Yeah.
So great.
And
they did it too.
Johnny Ramone gave Johnny Rotten the beer.
Uh-huh.
Of
course
like
he did.
our way of saying hello. And,
Yeah.
Well, that's
Peace
our
offering.
greeting,
Well, that British beer is pretty bad. He probably
Yeah, he
didn't
probably
notice.
didn't know the difference.
You've written a million. You guys have all these. I was looking at the anthology, and so many of your songs.
Anthology.
You see them all stacked up, one after the other.
That's
are about
what it was.
the brain. Gimme
Brain is
shock
an
treatment.
important thing, right?
Teenage lobotomy. I want to be sedated. Psychotherapy. My brain
All
is hanging
songs
upside down.
about
brain
mental
drain.
health
Why
are
this
Dee Dee
fascination with the
songs.
brain?
We're screaming out for help.
And all songs about love are Joey songs.
I hope you get that.
Help us, please.
Have you ever? I mean, you are probably have one of the most recognizable looks in rock and roll. Have you ever thought for a second about doing something different with your hair, cutting it?
I did think about it.
You did think about
But
it?
I don't look good in short hair. When I was a kid, I used to have short hair. My mom, they used to take me to the barber shop, but that stick.
I love
they
his
used to,
long
like,
hair,
stick
man.
Up your hair. It was like,
Howard.
What? No.
People used to confuse Howard Stern and Joey Ramone.
I don't think that was a barber shop. I don't know what the hell was going on.
I think it was
You know when they grease you up at the barber shop?
Yeah, baby.
I guess in the 50s they would do that.
Right.
Yeah, it's called the
Well,
DA.
I disagree, because we have computer graphics here, and we actually thought, let's see what Joey looks like with a conservative hairstyle. Can we take a look at this, please? I think.
Wow. Look at
like
that.
That's
Can you imagine?
me.
On
That
Wall
was me
Street?
in the 50s.
It's a Keanu Reeves thing happening there. Are you, you're still a
funny,
single
man.
guy, playing the field. Do you ever think you'll settle down?
I hope so.
Yeah?
At some point.
You want to do that, or you like living
Shame
the
he never
lifestyle?
did,
I
man.
like the life.
Yeah.
He probably
Let's
pulled,
talk more
pulled
about the
chicks every
life
night.
afterwards, shall we?
Freaking Joey
You know
Ramone,
what? We
dude.
got to have you come back. I hope you can come back and talk. We'd love to have you guys come on
Oh, yeah, that'd be
perform,
great.
because
Connor.
we're huge fans. Yeah.
Telephone call from Johnny Rotten.
That's
Connor.
that
I
microphone.
mean, performed.
Yeah.
They're broken
It's
up.
your barber from the 50s. Yeah. He wants you to shut up. Hey Ho, Let's Go. The Ramones anthology is in stores now, and the booklet that comes with this thing is great. They really did a nice job.
Yeah, Ronald did a great job.
Really tells the whole
he doesn't
story.
even know
And you're
that they're
doing a
broken
benefit
up.
for the Independence Thursday night
Right.
at Don Hills in New York City,
Look
because
at
their
that.
equipment got stolen, right?
Right. Everything got stolen, all their personal belongings. And
Wow.
Right.
Their van.
They'll be performing nude. All right.
Oh, my God.
Barrels.
It was a real pleasure having you on. Thanks for doing it. Joey Ramone, everybody. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
All right. So you know what's so cool about that? So first of all, I know the Independents. The Independents are, they're still out there, man. They were managed by Joey Ramone. Joey Ramone was a big champion of this band, the Independents. And wow, that's so funny. The fact to think that Conan O'Brien on, late night television name dropped the Independents, probably at Joey Ramone's behest. It's amazing to think that they did not explode out of the gate with Joey Ramone's backing. I think if Joey Ramone hadn't passed away when he did, if he had lived for another, 5, 10, 15 years, that the independents would have been huge. It would have just been big. JRD, funny you bring this up. Yes, this is absolutely it's a legend, but it's it's in book. It's in this book actually. It's in this book right here. I don't know if I have the chapter open to it, but I'm gonna sure try to read it if I can find it because I have this other thing here. Let's take a look. So, as we do on the show, we don't just examine one story from one angle. We look at a story from a bunch of different perspectives. So this is the last part of our little thing. It's kind of hard to read with sunglasses on. I'm going to do the best I can. Got to stay on brand. Can't take off my sunglasses. So this is on page 230 of PKM if you want to read along. And it's from the chapter You Should Have Never Opened That Door, which I believe is from a Ramones song. So this is Dee Dee. So this is an oral history. The way this works basically is, Legs McNeil interviewed countless people, hundreds of interviews, hundreds of hours. And then what you do is you take a snippet of a paragraph from transcribed paragraph from person to person, and you basically stitch it all together like a collage. It's like a book version of a documentary. That's literally what it is. Except that imagine it's way more difficult to put together than maybe a documentary would be. I don't know. Who knows? But Dee Dee Ramone says, when we went to England, things happened so fast it was unbelievable. The record company gave us unlimited room service. The record company gave us unlimited room service, and I ordered so many bottles of scotch, I had a $700 bill in 2 days. When they saw this, they said, "We just thought you were going to order some cheese sandwiches and Coca-Cola." I didn't know any better. What's up, Javis Pickle? How you doing? Good to see you in the chat. I didn't know any better. I thought I was a huge rock star. I can't do it. I thought I was a huge rock star. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Mickey Lee, another person I have had the pleasure of crossing paths with a few times. I think everybody this is Mickey Lee is Joey Ramone's brother. He doesn't go by Mickey Hyman. He has his own stage name as Mickey Lee. Must be, I can't even imagine how the ups and downs of being Joey Ramone's brother. Not an easy thing. You should read the book I Slept with Joey Ramone, co-authored with Legs McNeil. Mickey Lee says, I think everybody was a little nervous because we were in London and out of our turf for the first time. All of us, the Ramones and the roadies, were walking down this alley to get to the backstage door of the Roundhouse. And standing there in the alley like a posse was the Clash. And I love this description because I imagine the Clash like looking like anime characters, but at the same time like posing, like really, really posing, trying to be impressive. They were all wearing black leather jackets. They were all trying to be really fucking tough. And we were a little scared. Could you imagine that? What's up, Ramones? We're the Clash. Tommy was popping Valium and his hands were shaking because he was so fucking nervous. So as we were walking towards the door, they said, "Hey, we're the Clash, man, and we're going to be bigger than anybody," which is so awesome. Imagine walking in, because that's what life was like back then in the 70s. You could just be walking into an alley and there's the Clash standing in the alley announcing, "We're the Clash and we're going to be bigger than anybody," just so great. So great. It wasn't like, "Hey, we liked your record." It was an act. They were acting punk because that's how they figured bands in New York acted. Tough. Arturo Vega, he was the merchandise / art director / lighting director for the Ramones. Made a lot of money off of that logo. Lot of money. We're going to do a show on the Clash and Strummer in the future, Rue. I have something lined up for that. So this is what Arturo says. All the London bands were hanging out in the alleyway trying to get into the Roundhouse to see the Ramones. See, that's the beauty. So here's the beauty of an oral history. You're going to get, and this is again why it's so much cooler to hear from such a varied selection of people, because you're not going to hear the same cookie cutter answer over and over and over again. You're going to get a slightly skewed perspective that's going to allow you to better understand what's going on. So I love that. He says all the bands are hanging out in the alleyway trying to get into the Roundhouse to see the Ramones. Johnny Rotten asked me if he could come through the back door and meet the band. He asked me, if they don't like me, will they beat me up? So this is in 1977, mind you. The Ramones have returned, I think, or maybe this is the first time in 76. I can't tell. No, it would be the first time in 76. But Johnny Ramone is really intimidated. He goes, if they don't like me, will they beat me up? He thought the Ramones were a real gang. Ha 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 ha. Dee Dee Ramone. Here it is. This is the big paragraph right here. The Ramones always put a few drops of piss in anything they gave to their guests. This is a little joke. So the way Dee Dee puts it, Joey doesn't really go into this, but the way Dee Dee puts it is, this was just a custom. I don't know if it's a Forest Hills Queens custom. This is just a custom. This is just what you do. You put a couple drops of your piss in the thing, and you give it to people, and pretty funny. That's pretty freaking funny. So it's like it's a custom, if you will. So the Ramones always put a few drops of piss in anything they gave to their guests as a little joke. When Johnny Rotten came to see the Ramones at the Roundhouse, he asked Monty if he could come backstage and say hello. Johnny Rotten said that it was all Johnny Ramone, who was in charge of that stuff, Johnny Ramone said it was all right, and was very friendly to Johnny Rotten when they met. He shook his hand, patted him on the back, and asked him if he wanted a beer. Ha ha ha. Johnny Rotten took it and drank it down in one gulp. We were all holding our breaths and going blank, so he just left. No, Javis, they didn't give him a warm beer. Oh, yes, they did. Right. Sorry. I didn't understand what you were saying. I was like, Javis, you don't understand what I'm saying. And it was quite the reverse. I wasn't understanding what you were saying. Yes, they did indeed give him a warm beer. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Yes, I think Rotten deserved it as well, Eric. Good to see you, Eric. I think Rotten deserved it as well. Danny Field says, Mick Jones and Paul Simeon of The Clash were there. Paul was sitting around with these white socks, and they were really dirty. And I thought, boy, that's cool. That's Danny Fields. Danny Fields also was the manager of the Stooges. So Danny Fields is responsible for managing the Stooges and the Ramones, two of some of the most important punk bands to ever be, as a result, were the result of Danny Fields, as well as MC5. And, he was involved with the Doors, Dagger Love says, got to give it to the Ramones for their longevity and body of work, but Steve destroys Johnny on the guitar. Obviously. I mean, is that even a question, dude? Of course he does. Johnny Ramone does one thing. He just does the buzzsaw. Although, if we're talking about endurance, it's quite possible that Johnny Ramone would smoke him on endurance. But Steve Jones has way more chops, way better a guitar player than Johnny Ramone, hands down. But, in terms of enduring work and influence, I would say the Sex Pistols still remain important because they were the band that they exploded and gave everybody international notoriety and influenced a lot. But the Ramones, the influence and impact, the lasting impact, multi-generational impact of the Ramones, it has not been equaled to this day. You don't hear people talking about how they're starting a band because they want to be like the Pistols. You still hear that because of the Ramones. Yes, Johnny didn't write anything, even though he took a quarter percentage. That's not true. Johnny did write on Too Tough to Die. He wrote songs with Dee Dee. That's when him and Dee Dee, the last time him and Dee Dee were sort of really tight. You know what I mean? Yeah, Johnny is king of the castle. Even though Steve Jones would smoke him on guitar, Johnny Ramone is the king. He is, no matter what we feel about him. It can't be denied. It cannot be denied. So the Clash were there. This is what Danny Fields says. Paul was sitting around with these white socks and they were dirty, and Danny Fields thought it was cool. I got a big crush on Paul, the cute one, because I loved his socks. They were really dirty, thin white socks. You could see where they started to get really dirty as soon as they got below the shoe line. It's interesting how years later, as he's doing this interview with Legs McNeil, that he remembers that detail. Know what I'm saying? Machine Gun says Steve Jones copied Johnny's guitar playing. I disagree, Machine Gun. Even though Steve Jones spent a lot of time playing along to those albums, a lot of his guitar playing is Johnny Thunders. That's Johnny Thunders there. He is just ripping off Johnny left and right. You know, Machine Gun wants to clarify and say in terms of bar chords. Okay, that I don't know. But in terms of flair, in terms of finesse, in terms of that sort of thing, I'd say he's just trying to channel Johnny Thunders. You know what I mean? JRD for the win says, imagine how different things would have been if Steve Jones didn't swear on the Bill Grundy show. That's what made the Pistols famous. You're right. It would have been a much... No, that's not true. No. That's not true. That's what made the Pistols go international. But they were a band, dude. They were a band. They were a working, functioning band. You know what would have happened? They would have written more songs. They would have put out more albums. They would have still gotten signed. They would have put out more albums. They wouldn't have been blacklisted. They might have been together for the next 10 years. Glenn Matlock wouldn't have left the band. There's so many things would have happened if he had not cursed on Bill Grundy. But Bill Grundy turned them into a circus act. They were a functioning band for the year of 1976 and still sort of gelling in 75. They became a sensational media puppet for Malcolm McLaren to play with from 77 until January of 78 when they break up. It's the truth. See if there's anything else they want to say. But he ended up having an affair. Okay, so Danny Fields had a crush on him, but he ended up having an affair with Patti Smith. She had good taste in guys. But Paul and Mick weren't in the Clash yet, but they were starting it. They were afraid to play until they saw the Ramones. I mean, Paul and Mick told the Ramones, now that we've seen you, we got to be a band. The Ramones said, you just got to play, guys. You know, come out of your basement and play. That's what we did. Basically, the Ramones said to them, and so there's another band that just sort of explodes because of the Ramones, you know. Basically, the Ramones said to them, which they said to countless other bands, you don't have to get better, just get out there. You're as good as you are. Don't wait until you're better. How are you ever going to know? Just get out there and do it. Such an important, ethic, you know, such an important, notion in that. That's what the Ramones got from the New York Dolls, you know. So that's like the chain of command, you know. The Ramones are influenced by the Stooges and the Dolls and the MC5, right? But it goes the Stooges and then the Dolls sort of show up and then the Ramones show up and then everything else springs from there. That's like the daisy chain. All right, so here's a thing. Let's see if okay, so here's one last passage about the Ramones and the Sex Pistols from the book. This is Dee Dee once again. Sid, I'm not going to try and read like him. I was going to. Sid Vicious followed me all over the place. This was before he was in the Pistols. He was very nice and very innocent. I saw him all the time. The worst time was one night when we had a big party. It was the summer and in London, there's no air conditioning. It was at a place called the Country Cousin or the Country Club, probably the Country Club. which everybody had, where everybody had their parties. They were serving beer and wine, and everybody was bombed. The whole bathroom was filled with puke in the sink, in the toilets, on the floor. It was really disgusting. And somebody said, Dee Dee, do you need anything? And I said, yeah, I want some speed. All of a sudden, I had a huge amount of speed in my hand. And I started sniffing it like crazy. I was so high. And then I saw Sid, and he said, do you have anything to get high? I said, yeah, I got some speed. So Sid pulled out a set of works, which for those of you who don't know, that's like a needle you use for intravenous drugs. He pulls out a set of works and put a whole bunch of speed in the syringe and then stuck the needle in the toilet with all the puke and piss in there and then loaded it, meaning, just bang the needle in. He didn't cook it up. He just shook it and stuck it in his arm and got off. I just looked at him. I'd seen it all by then. He just looked at me kind of dazed and said, man, where do you get this stuff? So what a passage. Story time with Jeff. What a passage though, right? Let's go to some of the comments here. Javis says the Ramones are one of my the Pistols is more the Pistols music is more like rock and roll. Not too much punk sound, is more about the lyrics. Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a more sort of New York Dolls, Heartbreakers sound, right? It's funny. I was getting into an argument with these, like elitist, like never wases, I guess would be the best way to put it, who were not even around back then, but worship Johnny Thunders, and got so mad that, I said that Johnny Thunders was in a punk, that Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers are a punk band. And he's like, no, they're a rock and roll band. I'm like, dude, like, they're in the punk scene. They were a staple on the punk circuit. They played in punk clubs. They're a punk band, even if they were playing traditional 50s rock and roll. That's what punk kind of was. And to an extent, that's what the Sex Pistols were. The Sex Pistols were not doing what the Dead Boys were doing or the Ramones were doing. It was just sloppy, raunchy rock and roll in the vein of the New York Dolls. It was more in that template with clever lyrics that had a socio-political commentary. Sardonic and nihilistic, snide. Great. It's a great album. That album's great. What's up, Crazy White Boy? You got Crazy White Boy in the House. The Ramones are one of my all-time favorite bands. They were so great to see live. Can't believe it's been 25 years since their last show. I wish I could have seen the Ramones live. I suffer from I was too young-itis, unfortunately. Just the way it is, man. That's just the way of the world. That's just the way of the world. I did get to see CJ and Danny Ray do a Ramones set, and that was about the closest thing because they were all friggin' dead. They were all dead already, really sad. Tommy was still around, but Tommy's not really doing that sort of thing. This isn't about comparing whether the Ramones are so much better than the Sex Pistols or not, Mr. Red, but, you're allowed to have your opinion. Yes, that is disgusting. I think you're referring to the using the works in the puke. Drugs bad. Yes, Bodies is my favorite Pistol song. I love Bodies. Big fan of that song. You should, Mr. Red, check out my other videos about the Sex Pistols, who I love, by the way. But yeah, I think John Lydon has sort of gone off his rocker. And he does think he's sort of, he's always trying to be on brand, trying to be punk 1 minute and then the next minute, not at all. Daggerlove says Steve was all Chuck Berry and so was Thunders. Yeah, but Steve wasn't looking. Steve is Chuck Berry by way of Thunders. The Chuck Berryness that he gets doesn't come from Chuck Berry. It comes from Thunders, who in turn gets it from Chuck Berry. Strength to Endure is a great CJ song. I agree. Ramones were more rock and roll. Matlock gave the Pistols a pop sensibility under Steve's guitar and Rotten's sarcastic lyrics. Yeah. Yeah, man. We did a whole thing about Matlock. Did he get the bad end of a stick, and determined that he didn't at all, man. He didn't at all. Another great Ramones song from the 90s, Poison Heart, which is a Dee Dee Ramone song. He left the band, but was still writing songs for them. I just want to walk right out of this world. I would love to see a country version of that. I just want to walk right out of this world, 'cause everybody has a poison heart. Kind of sounds like it could be a country song. Hey, droid. We just jumped in. I'm actually about to jump out, guys. I have movies. I have horror movies to watch. I took on a commitment that I wish I hadn't, but now I can't stop. A Danzig version of Scream. How would that even go? Hold on a second. Let's see if we can do Danzig. I have to look up the lyrics. A Danzig version of Scream. Misfits. I don't think. Of course, it starts off with a whoa. A chill runs up your spine and crawls into your brain. Oh, freeze. I can't. That Danzig would never sing this, dude. Oh, freezing. It's just not even Danzig's lyrical style. Oh my God. It just would never work. I can't even pretend to imagine as a joke. It just doesn't work, man. It's driving me insane. Although you cannot fight, you drag from side. You know what the problem is? And this is another interesting thing. I don't want to get into this, guys. We're going to be here forever. But here's another interesting. Okay, one little tidbit. Interesting thing about this notion would be that the lyrics and the melody are so un-Danzig like. Danzig would never do a melody like that, and he would never do lyrics like that. Till you scream, I can't wait to hear you. I can't wait to hear you scream. It's just not, that's not how he sings. I love it when Danzig covers Hips Don't Lie. Oh, all broken arrow. Oh, man, how do I start speaking Spanish? Fair enough. I don't know why it's just always been my wish song. Shrug B, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to yuck on your yums. If that's what you want, then that's what you want, man. Yes, I love The Crusher is my jam. And that song is actually on, that's also written by Dee Dee, and it's on Dee Dee King's rap album. That's right. Dee Dee King's supposed rap album has The Crusher on it. And it's a great song. I'm the Crusher, King of the Ring. I think if the Ramones had kept going, we would have gotten a lot more CJ on stuff. There's a whole love for that last era of the Ramones. People love that era. But you could always tell, you know how you always know a Ramones fan, like a real diehard Ramones fan? If they talk about Animal Boy and Brain Drain, and if they talk about any of the 90s albums. But there are some casual Ramones fans that will be into, Poison Heart and Strength to Endure. If you're down with Animal Boy, if you're down with Brain Drain, if you're down with Bop Till You Drop, or Go Little Camaro Go, those are those are really, really, really hardcore Ramones fans, I think. That's just me, though. That's just me. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Rotten has lost the plot. His ego is self-sabotaging. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's his problem. I mean, he can't even allow himself to take a £5 million payday because he's got to play punk, But just so foolish. So foolish. Oh, Joseph. Joseph says, instead, imagine Glenn remaking Scream the movie. Oh, yeah. Just a bunch of big titty ladies all right, it's the first thing I want to do. I want to see this chick, and she's gonna be topless, and then Ghostface, he's gonna come out of nowhere. He's gonna stab her through both her tits like a shish kebab. That's Glenn Danzig's scream. See, there you go. Animal Boy. Thor loves it. Yes, I would say, if you're down with Too Tough to Die, that is a Ramones album. Ramones album. If you're down, Endless Vacation. Endless Vacation's great. Warthog's great. Howlin' at the Moon. Oh my God. Why on earth wasn't Howlin' at the Moon a radio hit, man? I mean, just pure like Ramones doing new wave in the best way possible. Durango 95. I love that they opened up their shows with Durango 95. And I'll tell you something, that final show in 96, when they're doing Durango 95 into Teenage Lobotomy at the very beginning of the show, they're just moving at supersonic speeds. Like, this is the band at their tightest, even tighter than when Dee Dee was in the band, I think. Although I will say, there's a clip of the Ramones doing Glad to See You Go in England at that show in 77 when they gave Johnny Rotten the beer. At that very show, they do this version of Glad to See You Go, which is one of my favorite Ramones songs, by the way. And just seeing Dee Dee like flopping around on bass. I mean, they're phenomenal, dude. Phenomenal. I love me some Ramones, guys. I'm glad we got some Ramones fans in this house. Dagger loves that stuff. Are you going to do a show devoted to those Ramones albums? I will. I'd be happy to. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about the Ramones. Listen, guys, we can go into the Ramones. We can put the Misfits down for a minute. They're not going anywhere. Wow, you lucky duck. That must have been cool. That must have been bittersweet, though, because at that time it would be like all about Dee Dee Ramone, right? Mental Hell and Somebody Put Something in My Drink are the best. Yeah. Oh my God. Howling at the Moon gets me so hyped. As I said earlier, for those of you who are not here, here's how you always tell who wrote a Ramones song. If the Ramones song is about mental health, it's always a Dee Dee song. If the Ramones song is about love, it's always a Joey song. And that's how you can tell the difference. For the most part. Not always. Sometimes that's not the case. Out of here. My favorites are Too Tough to Die, but it was released later. Yeah, it's so great, man. I'll tell you something. I've said, again, for all the, how critical I am about, Glenn Danzig doing songs like Lords of the Left Hand or not liking Let the Day Begin. Today Your Love, Tomorrow the World is one of my favorite Ramone songs. Like, I love it. I changed the lyrics for me. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I do. I sing it a little bit differently, but I love that song. It's a great song. Uh-oh. I hear we're getting hit hard with the rain. I can hear it now. Yes, exactly. Shish kaboob. That's great. Shish kaboob. I love it. Eric says, my favorite post-70s Ramones album is Halfway to Sanity, but there are great songs on every album. You could find, listen, if you really love the Ramones, you could find something to love on every one of those albums. Every single one of them, there's something to love. They did. Listen, Droid, I've said this before and I'll say this again, and you guys know how big of a Beatles fan I am. I would say, and some people call me crazy, that maybe even second to the Beatles, the Ramones might be one of the most influential bands of all time. Maybe not second, maybe in the top 5. They're absolutely in the top 5 of all effing time. It might be written by Joey. I'm not saying that that's always the case. I'm just saying, general rule of thumb, if it's a mental health song, it's going to be Joey. And if it's going to be Dee Dee. And if it's a love song, it's going to be Joey. That's general, especially your first 4 or 5 albums going to be like that. Man, I hope it's not flooding behind me. I'm too afraid to look. I'm too afraid to look. Yes, I know. We've covered this. We've covered this in the past, JRD. Yes, it's true. Sid Vicious was meant to be the original Pistol singer. Malcolm got the wrong John. They were in a gang. There were 4 Johns. John Simon Ritchie, John Lydon, and 2 other Johns. And they picked John Lydon because of his shirt. Said, I hate Pink Floyd. And, later, Johnny Rotten pushed for his friend to join the band, and they pushed out Glenn Matlock. We talked about this on previous shows. Rue is hoping that Joey Ramone flick pays off. Pete Davidson might pull this off. Yeah, man, I think he could do it. There's another guy named, the guy from Grandma's Boy who's like Joel David Moore or something. He could play. As a matter of fact, he did play Joey Ramone in that CBGB's movie. It was terrible. Oh my God. The movie was terrible. He was pretty good as Joey Ramone. I think Pete Davidson's going to pull it off great. I think it's going to be great. I think he's going to do it. Ooh, that's a toughie right there. Joe wants to know, what is, can I name a favorite Ramones record? Well, here's the thing. For me, and this is straight up the truth, you can drop the needle on any fucking track on those first 4 Ramones albums, and I'm happy. Road to Ruin, friggin' Rocket to Russia, Leave Home, or Self-Titled. You drop the needle on any one of those songs, boom. But if I have to pick, it's so tough. Probably Road to Ruin. I don't know, man. I love Self-Titled too. God, that's too hard. That is too hard. I'm going to say the first 4 albums, without a doubt. But I love, again, I can listen to Too Tough to Die pretty much all the way through. And then after that, I start to get a little more picky. I love Outsider off of, is it Pleasant Dreams? I'm an outsider, outside of everything. I'm an outsider, everything you know. Oh, God, it's so good. So good. What a great melody. Great track. And that one of the few Ramone songs to have a bridge. Actually, that's not true. 53rd and 3rd has a bridge. Pinhead has a bridge. Some Ramone songs do kind of have a bridge. But yeah, first 4. If Sid Vicious had been the Pistol singer, they never would have had any good lyrics. The band never would have worked. The band never would have gone anywhere. You got to check. Have you ever listened to Dee Dee's solo records in the 90s? Like when he had this teenage wife, Barbara, when she joined the band, it was just like Dee Dee Ramone. Crazy stuff. Okay, big show tomorrow night, guys. Big show. Turn on your reminders. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe this video. But I have a big show coming tomorrow. We are doing Night of the Living Dead. It's Night of the Frumess Dead tomorrow night here on the channel. I've been asked by multiple people, Jeff, what are you doing for Halloween? You going to do a special Halloween thing? I've gotten messages. People have asked me a bunch, mostly in the stream. What are you doing? And you know what? This is what I'm going to do. We're starting here. Maybe it'll be the building of something new for the channel, because I love doing movie commentary stuff, but the problem is with copyright. And I'm trying to figure out a way to make it all work. As it turns out, one of my favorite films of all time happens to be in the public domain, and that is Night of the Living Dead. And it's a film that I think we all love to an extent. And I have a lot to say about this film. I have a lot to say about everything on this channel. Obviously, I never shut the hell up, but I have a lot to say about Night of the Living Dead. And I'm very nervous. I have a lot of nerves because I'm afraid that it's not going to go well. I'm afraid that it's going to get choppy, or that we're going to have problems with technical issues. It's possible it might happen. Yes, I love Bonzo Goes to Bitburg is one of their best songs. It's along with Pet Cemetery and Bonzo Goes to Bitburg. Those are two tracks that should have absolutely charted. I mean, charted in the top 10 when they came out, and that they didn't. And it's such a bummer. I love Questioningly. See ya tomorrow night, Mr. Frumess. Till then, be good, safe, and cough cool, please. What is your favorite Misfits album? Seriously, I don't have one, man. I love it all. Different moods, different questions for different moods. What's up, Amy? Different. When I'm in a Static Age mood, I put on a Static Age record. When I'm in an Earth AD mood, I put on an Earth AD record. When I'm feeling poppy, I put on Walk Among Us. Another video that will be coming to the Patreons in the future. We're going to be talking about the Plan 9 version of Walk Among Us versus the regular version of Walk Among Us that came out on /Ruby. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That's a little bit a ways off. Static Age it is. Fine. But yeah, like I said, please make sure to tune in tomorrow night because I really think we're gonna have a really good time. I'm gonna try and make it a little bit more theatrical if I can. And I just really think we're going to and we're going to do a little bit of pre-talk. There's going to be a little bit of pre-talk. We're going to watch the film and then maybe we'll do a little bit of post-talk. We'll see how it goes. So that is the big Halloween special. Is tomorrow night, everybody. Night of the Frumess Dead. I love the way that the image came out. I might even put it on a t-shirt. I don't know if anybody would buy it, but still might put it on the t-shirt because it's so hilariously funny looking. And what a last name. Angus McQuarter. I bet Bonzo Goes to Bitburg was not like, he did not like it. He did not like it at all. Johnny had them change the name because it originally was Bozo. It was Bozo Goes, oh God, what was the original title? It was Bozo Goes to, let's take a look here. Hold on. What is the original title to Bonzo Goes to Bitburg? I just asked my phone. So Bonzo Goes to Bitburg. Hold on. I'm looking it up right now. Bonzo Goes to Bitburg is a song by American punk rock band The Ramones. It was issued as a single in the UK by Beggars Banquet Records in 1985. It's an emotionally charged commentary on the Bitburg controversy from earlier that year, in which U.S. President Ronald Reagan had paid a state visit to a German World War II cemetery where numerous Waffen SS soldiers were buried. Lyrically, the song, I mean, talk about a band who sang about Nazi stuff in the past, but this is how, this is where Joey's actual convictions are. It's an interesting thing that no one ever talks about. Nobody ever talks about, it's like, whoa, the Ramones were singing about that stuff. But when it came down to brass tacks, Joey wasn't about it. Although Johnny defended Reagan because he was a staunch conservative. Well, my brain is hanging upside down. Bonzo Goes to Bitburg. Okay, right. Now I remember. So the original title is called Bonzo Goes to Bitburg because Bonzo was the name of one of Reagan's characters because Reagan was an actor in the 50s. He was in a movie called Bonzo, or Bonzo was, I don't know. Bonzo was Bonzo the name of a clown, I believe. And they changed the name at Johnny's behest to My Brain is Hanging Upside Down. So it's originally Bonzo Goes to Bitburg. And people still call it Bonzo Goes to Bitburg. You know what I'm saying? So Joe says, it took a while, but I have settled on Leave Home as my favorite. And interestingly enough, it has very few of my favorite Ramones songs on it. The Ramones are just that good. So then it's not your favorite. That the answer would be that it's not your favorite then. Oh yeah. Thanks, Rue, for reminding me. We have a show coming up too. If you live in Lodi or near Lodi, yes, the Lodi that the Misfits are from. I don't know how this happened. We're doing a show. There's a show coming. It's they came from Lodi show. And I'm the host of the show. I'm the MC. I'm the mother effing MC. I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about. I'm wearing a cape and a top hat and fangs, if I can find these things. And I'm going to talk there. No, Joe, that's why you got to have notifications turned on, buddy. I got to go. I have things I got to do. Anyone here subscribe to that theory, that horror business? He's really trying to get me to stay. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're going to do it. Yeah, Amy, I'm with you. I think Road to Ruin is it, man. It just has so many good songs. Bad Brain, by the way, is where the band, the Bad Brains, that's where they get their name from. Bad Brain. If you got the extended deluxe edition from the early 2000s, they had the live tracks that they played in Rock and Roll High School, the movie. Pretty great. Would be rad if you phone responded to Jamie. No, it's done. I'm done. I gotta go. I have a quota, and it's late. I gotta wake up tomorrow. I gotta drive my daughter to school. Oh yeah, I don't want the stream to end. It's a great stream though. Really good. We got to do more Ramones stuff. People don't like the fucking horror movie shit, but they love the Ramones. Hey, I love the Ramones too. So we'll see you tomorrow night for Night of the Frumess Dead. Tune in and beware. 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 Subscribe. Please subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the Patreon. Check it all out. That's what we're going to end with. That is what we're going to end with, You have it here? What in the... Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk and I never shut the fuck up. So right now I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon, because we need you! 66 cents.